Did you end up completing high school?
High school completed me.
Let's just pretend that I didn't film a whole 20-minute video yesterday, and then I watched the playback and my video has absolutely no audio because something is wrong with my phone microphone. This iPhone SE is on its last thread. Anyways, Supadoodle gang, welcome, jeez, what was that? Welcome to the first video of How to Ask for a Yappuccino, featuring your host, Yash. Anyways, so a while back, I would say around March, maybe even February, I filmed a video where I was on my iPad. First of all, the quality is trash because this iPad is old. But anyways, I filmed a video on my iPad where I was talking about studying for the SAT, the digital one, as a senior too. And I was studying on Khan Academy and I was going through the courses. My sanity was like, on 1%. Because I was just like, this is gonna be harder than I thought. After I did my studying, I took the test in March and I tried my best, but I really ran out of time and it was like a lot harder questions. But I got my score back, I would say 2 weeks later after I took the test, and unfortunately I didn't get the score I wanted. So the score I wanted was a 1210, but I got an 1170, which is only like 40 points off. But before I got an 1170, I got a 1080. So I got a lot more points. I would say, how many points? Was it 50 or 40? No, it was 90 more points. From a 1080 to an 1170, I got 90 more points, which is good. And I could have easily gotten 40 more points, but I was just like, I'm done. I can't anymore. Like, I just don't want to do it anymore. But yeah, I got an 1170 on my SAT, which is a lot better than when I took it paper, like when they used to have the papers still, which was during junior year, and I got like a 920. So yeah, I did okay on the SAT, sort of. But yeah, so I wanted to go a little bit hand in hand and talk about kind of like my high school experience, since I just graduated last week, Friday. Literally, like, I'm done with high school. I'm finished. And I just want to talk about like my high school experience and kind of the advice I would offer, or like just a little overview, because I feel like you guys should know. Like, why not? Let me just tell you guys everything that I went through so that you can kind of get a little bit of a consensus yourself if you're a middle schooler, incoming freshman, yada, 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 still in high school and you're kind of like, I don't know what to do, man. Like, help me out. I got you. So let's take it back 4 years ago, freshman year. I lived in a completely different region and I was attending the high school, you know, in my region, which was very good. If I continued living in that region and continued going to that high school, I would not be sitting here. I'd probably have a lot more better experiences to tell, but I'm just telling you what I went through. So freshman year, I did it online. At the time, I hated doing school online just because I was sitting at home all day and I didn't like the fact that I wasn't able to go outside, because I remember that the area I lived in had very great weather and I'd be upset staring at my window being like, oh my gosh, I wish I could just go outside. But then again, if I was going to school physically in that school, I wouldn't be outside either way. I would still be inside. So I don't know what kind of logic I was thinking back then, but I was a freshman. I kind of really didn't have a consciousness back then. But anyways, freshman year, I didn't like it. Looking back, it was better than what I went through now. But I would just do classes online, and I really liked how it was like through Zoom, which is, I think it's called asynchronous. That's my stuff. And this is important because I will be going back to that later, because I tried something and it didn't work. Anyways, I finished that and I moved to a completely different region, go to that public school. The other one was a public school, but this public school is just nothing compared to this. First of all, the bus was late on my first day.
Who driving this bus? You better mess me up.
And I was literally skedaddling back and forth, trying to not make it late to school, but I literally had to rely on an Uber for like, I think the first whole week, because the bus was literally not coming at all. And I made a friend along the way, which is good. But unfortunately, I was extremely disappointed stepping into that school. Making friends was like, I was back 3 steps. I'm usually like, I've been known like, from like my first impression, people say, Yosh, you're really shy, you know? Like, you're just a shy gal. And I'm like, oh, really? But at the end of the day, when I get comfortable, when I get situated, I open up a bit more. But this school was so hard to really get out of my comfort zone. And something I realized is that if people won't approach you first, I mean, you gotta do things first, because people will not approach you first, because people already, like, it's sophomore year. People already made friends freshman year. They've been living in this region. Maybe they went to school with each other prior to high school. So it's like a little different. But at the end of the day, I guess I could have like been more outspoken, talked to more people. So it does fall back on me at the end of the day. But it was extremely hard just being in my little lonesome, comfortable hamster bubble that I put myself in sophomore year. But I would say that it factors into being home, like, for 2 years because of the pandemic. I think that kind of made me a little bit more antisocial. But like I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm introverted, because introverted people say like from their perspective, introverts don't want to interact with other people. It's not that they want to, but they just don't want to, you know? I would say that I do, but I just can't. So I'm more of like a antisocial extrovert. But then again, I'll like go back on that. Anyway, sophomore year, it was hard making friends, but I wanted to challenge myself a bit more, because I was taking regular classes and I wanted to take a bit more, like, step it up a shot. So I talked to someone, and like a staff administrator, and I was like, can I take honors? And so I took honors, just full honors. I didn't take AP because I was too scared. Like throughout my whole high school, I was just too scared to take AP, too scared to dip my toe in that water, because I just heard horror stories, and I just wanted an easy breezy high school year, because I didn't want to be like pulled back by AP. Oh, I have to study this, study that, because I already had my plate full with doing honors. But it wasn't necessarily hard to do honors, but I would just say that definitely a bit more like stepped up than regular classes. But teachers are really laid back. Depends on who. I will factor back into that. But I think it was like, for me, it was like fine. Like, it was at my grade level, at my speed. I could handle it. But I would say that if you're wondering, if you're like in regular classes and you're wondering like, oh, should I do honors or not? Definitely do it. I'm pretty sure you can handle it. If I can handle it, you can handle it. If you're doing well in regular classes, like getting A's, getting good grades, you'll be able to handle honors. Maybe not in like a private school. I don't know how things and dynamics are, because it's like each school is different. My school, I would say, is like an easier school to like navigate through like the honors, yada yada, and that's why I was able to do good. But I don't know how the case is in other schools. So definitely do your research, get that information. You should be good. Take honors. Anyways, finding a balance. I know lots of people complain that, you know, doing sports, clubs, maybe even a job, and then school on top of that is just way too much to handle, because schools, you know, you have to study, do homework. I didn't really have to do a lot of homework and studying, because like I said, I had a pretty easy school to, like, the curriculum was not hard for me to handle. It was just the environment that I didn't really like, going back to school, you know, like that environment I just really didn't like. I'll go back more into that. But people say like doing clubs, getting service hours, because I would say like if you're an incoming freshman, get your service hours out of the way so that you don't have to worry about that as you progress in high school, because getting that out of the way, getting your requirement, get that out of the way. You know what I mean? Just get it out, like, bye. So that you worry about other stuff, because you don't know as you progress more in high school what will come your way. So, what was I talking about? I keep switching up. I'm like running out of breath. Why? Like, geez, like, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with the camera. I'm trying to get more comfortable, but it's like the way I talk is like I talk too much and then kind of running out of breath. I'm sorry. I apologize. Anyways, finding a balance. You want to make sure that the curriculum you take, so if you're taking like AP, maybe not too much extracurriculars outside of school, because AP is a lot to handle, you know? You're gonna have to put in a lot more work. You're gonna have probably a bit more tests and a lot more homework. So you wanna make sure it's something you can handle. Don't burn yourself out because you will lose motivation, and you just wanna make sure that, like, high school, it's very important that you keep your grades up. So make sure that what you put on your plate is not too much for you to handle, because that will really come into play as you finish high school. You want to make sure that you just do your best with what you were given, you know? And you don't want to make sure that, like, you don't have too much on your, I keep saying the same thing, you don't have too much on your plate. Don't bite off more than you can chew. So for example, you want to do sports. That's going to take up a lot of your time. You want to take an extracurricular, join some sort of club. I would say theater, student government, and like choir or like chorus is a lot. Like, you just have to like live at school, basically. If you're going to join in those clubs, you live at school. You're not going to have time to do sports, other extracurriculars. You're going to live at school if you're going to take those clubs. Keep that in mind. If you're okay with that, go ahead. Personally, me, I want to go home. You know, I want to separate my school and my life from school. You know, like, I just want to like come home and that's it. I don't have to worry about school. School doesn't have to worry about me. Do you know what I mean? So like, try to find a balance. See what you can do. Like, it's trial and error. You know, experiment what you can do. About freshman year, I definitely recommend, like, if you can do it earlier, get that out of the way. Find your what's the word? Find your speed? No. Find your equilibrium? I don't know. Find your, you know what I mean? Like, find that little medium that you're not burning yourself out, you have a good balance, and it's not impacting your mental and physical health too much. If it gets to that point, you need to review, reflect your schedule. What is causing these issues with your physical and mental health, and how can you take some things out so that your physical and mental health are not being impacted by those things? Do you get what I mean? I feel like I'm kind of not making sense, but hope if you get it, you get it. If you know, you know, you know. Anyways, junior year. But before we get into junior year, so sophomore year of high school that I went to, it didn't really leave a good taste in my mouth, you know? I was not feeling it. I was like, I don't want to go to the school. The commute from school to home took like an hour or two out of my day, and I just felt like I could have done so much more in that hour or two, even though I didn't really do much when I came home. Looking back, it was really hard to find my niche, my hobby, what I wanted to do, because I didn't really have a lot of resources and opportunities to do so, because I had transportation issues, which completely fine if you do. I was on the same boat. So when I came home, I would literally just doom scroll on my phone. And looking back, I'm just like, if I just figured out what I wanted to do during that time, I would have been like, just had a lot more back. Have a lot more done and do a lot more now. Do you get what I mean? Like, I kind of regret doom scrolling and wasting my time when I could have been doing what I liked now. Then. Does that make sense? But life is unfair. You figure out what you want to do in the present or in the future, and then you look back and you're like, dang, I could have fit that in my schedule like a glove, you know, and done it back then. But, you know, life is unfair. I'm not going to hold myself against that for not realizing it earlier, because, girl, that's what am I going to do? Like, if I had a time machine, hell yeah, but, like, I don't have a time machine. Anyways, find your niche. It's going to take some time. It took me a lot of time, but when you find what you want to do, what you want to occupy your time with, and something you're passionate and dedicated in doing, you know, make it surround your life. You know, make that your number one priority. I know lots of people are like, school is number one priority. As true as that is, I disagree. I think that finding your passion, your dedication, and something that you love doing is a lot more important than school, and then those come next. How do you work your schedule around so that you have enough time to do what you love but still do your best in school. Does that make sense? It's a hard thing to balance and a hard thing to figure out, but I know you can do it. I can do it. You can do it. You know what I mean? I don't feel like I'm making sense, but I feel like you get what I mean, right? Anyways, so like I said, sophomore year left a very bad taste in my mouth. I didn't like the school I was going to whatsoever, and I didn't like how isolated I felt because in a lot of my classes I didn't really have a lot of friends. I only had friends during lunch, and I'm very grateful for them for sticking around, but it really just felt like, well, now it's like they kind of just feel like mutuals, if that makes sense. Not really close friends. It's been a while since I really had a close friend by my side, and I'll get more into that, but talking more like, I just felt very isolated, very lonely, very alone sophomore year. I just kind of felt like the outcast, like you get what I mean? Like, not like an outcast, but I just felt very isolated in my solitude. Does that make sense? Anyways, so because of that, I was just like, there's so many, like, this, I could, like, finagle my way out of going to school by online school. Because I did it freshman year, right? Like, it was super easy for me freshman year. Guess what? It's not the same. As I mentioned, asynchronous learning was the way I learned during freshman year. Joining Zoom, having them lecture, then giving assignments later. That's the way I ruled, and that's the way I liked it. A lot of those asynchronous learning is not a really big thing going out like nowadays. People just post your assignment on whatever platform, do it, interact on like a chat, like a discussion board. That's your participation point. You have to be super thorough. All in all, they give a lot more work than what you would be doing if you physically went or if they just did a simple lecture, which is so annoying. They don't offer like it's not like it's not the same as going to school physically. I feel like asynchronous learning is a lot similar to going to school physically because the teacher is actually lecturing you. But with synchronous learning, it's not the same. They post your work on some sort of platform. You have to read a bunch of articles, a bunch of textbooks, pages of like some sort of thing that's like so irrelevant. Take a quiz, that's your grade. And it's just like, I don't work that way. I simply don't. And even if I take good notes, it's gonna take me like 2 hours to get through like 10 pages of textbook, take a test, and then do well on that. And you can't even retake the test. And I did not do well with this. It's very difficult for me to just like read something and then take a quiz and that's my grade. And I comprehend from that. I need someone to lecture. I need to do something hands-on. And I didn't realize that until I tried it the beginning of junior year. It didn't work out for me. I had to unfortunately go back to school physically, and I hated it because I had a really bad English teacher. Not trying to dox her, but we really did not mesh together well, and I was not doing good in her class because it's actually not my fault. All the other kids in the class would agree with me. She is not a good teacher. Girl, you can't first of all, let me tell you, she would crack open Shakespeare, we would read it, and she's like, okay guys, what is he saying? Girl, Shakespeare is a different language. You can't just read it and understand it. You gotta have to translate it into modern, thing. So as a teacher, be like, oh, this is what he meant in thou shall, this, thou, this, that. This is what he meant. But no, she would be like, okay, what is he saying? Why is nobody paying attention? You guys come to school to sleep? Do you not participate? You know that participating in school is vital. As true as that is, girl, you're not teaching. You're just talking. There's a difference. You know what I mean? She was like that. I had her for 2 years straight, which was agony, but I was able to get through it. But you will run into teachers that you just don't mesh well with, which is so unfortunate because you're just gonna have to find a way to power through, do all you can to pass that, and you're gonna have to pull some strings to do so, which is really unfortunate because she was very unapproachable. So I couldn't really take time out of my day to just be like, hey, can you help me with this? No, she was very unapproachable, didn't really tell me what I was doing wrong, and gave me Fs. But I was able to survive, guys, don't worry. But yeah, I went back to school junior year, which was not really my stuff, but I was able to find my niche this year, which is very important. At the beginning, I didn't know what to do, but during the new year, which 2023, so like after, during winter break is when I found my niche. I started reading, and I read a really good book, and it inspired me to start maybe writing something of my own. And I started just like writing out of mindfulness, but it's something I really love to do, and it started to progress more and more, and I actually finished the whole thing that I was writing. And if I felt really good, I felt very productive writing what I was writing, and it just became like something like a hobby that I was doing, and it was something that I was able to occupy my time with. Felt very productive, and I felt like I was able to express myself through that, because like I mentioned, I was very isolated in school, so I didn't really have much people to talk to. That's incorrect. That's grammatically incorrect. Much people to talk. I didn't have people to talk to, so like my thoughts were just like, so many thoughts were coming through my head when I would like overhear something, or like why I wanted to say something, but I couldn't because I had no one to say anything to. So I found a way to express myself through my writing. It was able to occupy my time. I was passionate. I am passionate. I still am, because it's something I'm still doing, but I was able to do that. And then I also got into crocheting, and I started crocheting while watching shows. So that was something that made me super happy. I feel like if you're in the same boat as me, where you kind of feel very isolated at school, try to find something that compensates that loneliness, something that compensates that isolated feeling. And for me, that was watching shows, crocheting, and writing and reading. And I really loved doing all those things during my spare time. And of course, like writing every single day, I'm not going to feel motivated to do that every single day, but I've disciplined myself to, it's like ingrained in my schedule now that I have to write every single day. I'll go in more into that, but finding that a niche, I had to let my old dreams die, unfortunately, because it just seemed so out of reach. It's something I wanted to do for so long, but finding this new hobby and interest of mine during my junior year really just like filled me with a lot of warmth and happiness to continue doing those things nowadays. And it's like something I do during my spare time. I already mentioned that. Anyways, junior year, we finished that, found our niche, which is good, experimented with online school, which kind of left us a little hopeless, but we were able to power through going to school physically. Senior year. Came in senior year, went to class as usual, and something that I feel like is so important is having some sort of mentor, some sort of guidance during your senior year, because this is the year where you're going to really hone in on college applications, scholarships, resumes, all those things. Like, you really need to hone in on those things. And I didn't really have a guider. I kind of just figured things out on my own, reached out to some sort of mentor, but they didn't really help me as much as I had anticipated. So I kind of just had to figure things out on my own. So the advice I offer is that if you're a junior, incoming senior this year, I would definitely look into any universities and colleges that you want to go to, what the requirements are, and how you can fulfill those requirements during your senior year. So things like, I applied to a school, and apparently the reason why I didn't get in was because I didn't express enough need to want to be in that school. You kind of need to share your own experience, be like, why I want to go to this school, why I'm a valuable candidate. And I didn't do that well enough, and I didn't know until several months after I submitted my application for that school. So obviously I got rejected, not knowing that you had to express like your interest to going into that school, which is unfortunate because I could have been going to that school now. But if I had known that I needed to express my like personal interest in why I needed to go to this school, and like participating and I don't know how to describe it. It's like they wanted you to want to go to that school badly, and if you didn't want to go badly enough, they wouldn't accept you, and that's why I didn't get accepted. So I would definitely say look into the universities and colleges that you want to go to, and see what the eligibility, how to get in, what the skills and necessary requirements you need to get into that school, and try your best to fulfill those during senior year. But like I said, if you can't do that, if you tried your best and you still weren't able to get into the school that you wanted to, it is completely fine because you have next steps. And I definitely recommend you go into like a college class during your high school if there are any availabilities like that. Like classes that will talk about scholarships, trade schools, have presenters come in and talk about like schools and like next steps for you to do. If you have a class like that, definitely join it. My school fortunately had that class and it helped me out a lot and I was able to learn a lot. But like I said, I feel like if you're a senior, definitely get a mentor that knows like is going to literally like help you get to where you need to be, because doing it alone is not going to get you far. I speak from personal experience. Anyways, unfortunately, since I didn't have the SAT scores that I wanted, which is why senior year I was pulling all sorts of strings and like doing all sorts of things to make sure that I got my SAT score. Try to get it out of the way during junior year, but you still have enough time during senior year. And all you other kiddos, back in my day, we had the paper SAT. You don't have to do that anymore. You have the digital SAT, which is easier. Still difficult, very difficult to get a good grade, but get a good score. But it is easier than the paper one, a lot more digestible, it's not curriculum, testing information. It's a lot more digestible, and I would definitely say that, take advantage of that. Try to study. Khan Academy really helps, and hopefully you get the score that you want, all the eligibilities, knock that out of the park. Is that a saying, knock that out of the park? I think so. Knock that out of the park, get it out of the way. You should be good senior year, going to the school that you want, and that's it. Unfortunately, me, like I said, I still went on that like wavelength of being very isolated through high school, not really reaching out and having much friends, which is on me. Yes, I take accountability for that because I could have done things to reach out to other people, but I didn't. And due to that, I wasn't able to go to prom, grad bash, but I did go to graduation. And I would say like if you're going to a very good high school, you want to look back fondly on your high school memories and be like, I did this, I did that. You know what I mean? So I would say like if you have a good group of friends, go to prom with them, even if you don't like it, even if you don't think it's worth it. Which, first of all, it's super expensive. I don't know why people aren't talking about that, but it's super expensive. But at the end of the day, it is a high school prom, and it's like you want to experience that. You know what I mean? But I didn't do that, and I don't really regret not doing it, but I feel like if I had more friends and didn't feel as isolated as I did in this school, I definitely would have gone to prom and grad bash and stuff like that. But yeah, I would definitely say like choose a good high school to go to. Don't go to like the one in your area, which I know the one in your area is the one that you have to go to. Sorry for the bad lighting, it's raining outside. But like try to pull some strings so that you go to a good high school, because these are the next 4 years of your life and you want to make sure that you look back fondly on those years. Anyways, some like advice that I give is that just do your best. Don't try to fool around, and like sure, like you're still a kid, you're still young, and I at first thought that during my freshman year, like, oh, I have all this time to do this. And then here I am 4 years later, and I'm just like, that went by super quickly. Anyways, like, try to take advantage of as many opportunities as you have that come your way, and just execute your best. Dedicate your whole being into doing well and giving it your all. I feel like I'm repeating myself, and I feel like I've repeated myself a lot throughout this video, but it's like I'm trying to get better at like speech stamina. I'm trying to get better at like talking, basically, and like especially in the front of the camera, because like you feel like, oh, it's a camera, I can talk in front of a camera, but then you actually put it up and you're like I'm trying to get used to that. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed what I had to offer, even if it was helpful. I kind of feel like I wasn't really making sense, but I hope you guys enjoyed. If I did make sense, take it with a grain of salt, a grain of rice, is that what they said? But yeah, like I hope anything I said was helpful enough, and stay tuned for my next video. I'm gonna give people on Reddit my unsolicited opinion and advice, just because I'm a yapper. Because I didn't ask for a yappuccino. You know, it's yap o'clock. I'm a yapper, professional certified yapper. This is yapping. Anyways, see you guys later. Bye. I'm back. This may or may not be a different day, and I may or may not be wearing the same shirt, but what Conan Gray said about wearing the same shirt again.
I hate that thing where people are like, oh, you've worn that shirt before. Like, no
Freaking chic.
shit. I bought the shirt.
Anyways, last little PSA, not PSA, last little PS for the video. So, as I mentioned in the video, I found my little writing niche during my junior year of high school, and ever since then I've been concocting something in my witch's brew, you know, of writing a little story, and recently I have been editing to post it on Wattpad. So if you are interested in reading and you like reading things, definitely check out my story on Wattpad. I'll leave it in the description below. Also, I'm sure by now, if you're staying attentive to worldly conflicts, things going around in the world, current events, lots of unfortunate things are occurring around the world. So be a good Samaritan. I definitely recommend checking out my description below. I'll be leaving some petitions about some things going around in the world. Definitely sign them. Even if you think your voice doesn't matter, which I think it does, rather than doing nothing, do something. And also it makes you feel like a really good person. To me, it kind of makes me feel like a superhero. But anyways, I'll put some petitions down below, things revolving the genocide in Palestine, Congo, Haiti, Yemen, Sudan, countries like that. Anyways, thank you for watching. Bye.